Hello, everyone. Good morning to you, and I'm so excited to be here with you this morning. I'm grateful for life and glad that I'm around here to be part of another Forex Mastery live session. Well, I've been having some I've been having stuffy nose over the night, so I hope my the sound of my voice is still familiar with you guys. And sorry for coming a little bit late. I was trying to sort out some technical issues, so I thought I was through until I finally saw that I haven't gotten the setups in alignment. So welcome everybody to yet another promising session on the Forex Morning Mastery. As usual, we are going to be doing a thorough examination of the financial instruments we have been monitoring since the beginning of the week. And in fact, we have a handful of them. And we have four to be specific. We have the USDJPY, the GBPUSD, the XAUUSD, and of course the USOilSPOT. So these are going to be a follow-up detail to my previous videos on this instrument, which I shared during the course of the weekend. And if you had not watched it, I would advise that you watch them. It is very, very important that you do so, as it will give you a background knowledge of how we got to this point, because basically we are only discussing and reviewing the 1 hour time frame, and you might get caught up in the scenario where you don't really understand how we got to that point. So it is very important you watch that video. And secondly, it's also going to be a useful tool that you can use to decipher what is really going on in the market from a technical standpoint, while you can use that information to make your own independent decision on your account. So I have the link to those videos right in the description box of this current video, and they are duly timestamped, so you can easily navigate to whichever aspect of the video is of your interest. So please try and check it out and see how we got to the point we are on the 1 hour time frame. And so for the newcomers who are joining us for the first time, well, you are very, very welcome. I'm always glad to have newcomers in the house. And what we simply do here is to come together in anticipation of both the London and New York session, gathering to, and during this time, we will be reviewing and managing our current positions, while we also aim to position ourselves strategically for today's trading session. So you are highly welcome on board, and we do this on a daily basis. So with that being said, we shall be diving right into the business for today. And as usual, you know how we do it. The first thing we want to be doing is to check on the economic calendar. As you all know, these fundamental factors often manifest on the chart in technical patterns and price movements. And by monitoring the economic calendar, we can easily identify potential correlations between key economic releases and, of course, specific technical patterns. And what does this do to us? It helps us to be able to position ourselves in such a way that we can catch any potential trading opportunity prior, during, and even after that event. So with that being said, here, let's dive into the economic calendar. And please let me confirm that the sound quality is good. The video is not freezing. Let me know in the comment section. Your feedbacks are highly appreciated. So let me know in the comment section if everything is quite good and fine. I can see a comment here. Mansur Hassan, they say good morning. Before you check voice, well, it's good and I can. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I really appreciate your feedback, Mansur. All right. So with that being said there, let's dive right into the business for today. So as usual, we are going to be going into the economic calendar, and you know how we do it. The first thing we want to be doing is to check on high impact events from economies that will be affecting the currency pairs that we are looking at. And of course, we have the Japanese economy, the dollar, the US economy, and of course the UK economy. That's what we are going to be looking at. So scrolling down into Thursday, July 6th, we have two high impact events, and both of them are coming in from the US economic docket. So the first one is the ADP employment change. So this is normally released by the Automatic Data Processing Incorporation, and it measures the change in the number of employed people in the US economy. So generally speaking, a rise in this indicator has positive implication for consumer spending and stimulating economic growth. So that simply means that a high reading, a high data will be something positive and bullish for the US dollar, while anything lower will be negative for the dollar. And from the previous data we have here, we have a 278,000 for the month of May. So we are looking forward to the month of June, and majority are projecting a 228,000. So there is this belief that there has been a contraction in the last 1 month as regards to this data. So we are going to be looking forward to what the actual data is going to be. Will it be below expectation, beyond expectation, or even come in just as expected? Then going on, we have the ISM Services PMI, which is normally released by the Institute for Supply Management. And this index shows the business condition in the US non-manufacturing sector. And it's worth noting that the non-manufacturing sector does not influence either positively or negatively the GDP as much as the ISM manufacturing does. But one thing here is that a result above 50 is considered as positive for the US dollar, and anything below 50 is considered as negative. And from what we have here, the previous data came in at 50.3, and while the general consensus for this month, for the month of June, is coming in at 51. So there has been a little bit of positive hope on that one. So we are going to also look forward to what the actual data will be. Will it be below expectations, beyond expectations, or even come in just as expected? So these informations are coming in about, the first one is coming in about 4 hours from now, while the second one will be coming in about 6 to 7 hours from now. So we definitely want to be anticipating this event, and of course participants in the market will be looking forward to this event, and we shall be seeing the reflection of this anticipation written all over the chart in the form of price action. And that is simply what we want to focus on, to try to sniff and decipher from a psychological perspective what is really going on in the market, so we can position ourselves in such a way that we can catch that potential move when it finally happens. So with that being said here, let's dive right into the charts and let's look at things from a technical standpoint. Arashi Storm, I see your comment. Thank you very much for the compliment, for the feedback. I really do appreciate that. So let's move into the first instrument for today, which is going to be the US oil, of course. And on the US oil, it has been quite an interesting situation on this instrument since the beginning of this week, as we have been buying. There was no point we were thinking of selling at this particular point in time. So let's quickly run through what we saw at the beginning of the week that made us to buy, and how we have been managing our current positions on the USOilSPOT so far this week. So, well, the first thing we saw here on the 1 hour time frame, I told you what we do here is simply analysis on the 1 hour time frame, as this is our execution time frame. So if you do want to understand how we got to this point, or how we identify the key level, then it is important that you watch the video in the description box below, which I normally share during the course of the weekends. So right here on the 1 hour time frame, this was what we were able to spot. In fact, we saw a beautiful ascending channel which emphasized the strength of the buyers in this particular market. And in fact, after we connected a series of higher highs and higher lows, we had a simple ascending channel, which of course we have been using to guide our trading activity so far this week. And going into the beginning of the week, the first thing we observed here, let me zoom things a little bit in so that we can see things clearly. So the first thing we observed at the beginning of the week was how price action was caught within that range, and that was between the $70.75 level and of course the $70.40 area, to give us a sweet flat channel to work with for the week. And you know how we do it in this community. Whenever we spot this kind of flat channel, we want to remain patient, waiting for structures like a breakout of the resistance line to give us an opportunity to buy, or the breakdown of the support line to give us an opportunity to sell. And in fact, during our live session on Monday, we already had the situation running where price action broke out of that resistant line to give us our first buy position for the week. And in fact, we were able to maximize the potential of this bullish move by adding more positions at the breakout of the $71 area. And in fact, on that first day, we were able to scoop over 120 pips thereabout before this bearish momentum began. And we saw how price dropped back again into our key level for the week, which is situated at the $70 area. And in fact, this was a very beautiful sign that we might likely be going more bullish on the USOilSPOT. And remember how we use our key levels in this community. As long as price remains above the key level, we always want to look out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of buying any asset. And with the situation we had here and continued buying pressure around that $70 area on Tuesdays, I think Monday stroke Tuesday morning, we begin to see this kind of traction around this area, and sitting just right above the support line of the ascending channel, we had no other choice than to start thinking of buying. And to capture that bullish move, we had ourselves positioned just right above the $70.40 level, as you can see here, and we had the privilege of maximizing this move by adding more positions at the breakout of the structure. So we have been buying the USOilSPOT so far this week. We rode it all the way to the upside. Until this moment, we are still running in profit on the USOilSPOT as we had new positions. I think yesterday we had new positions above the $71 area here. We also added one above the $71.40 level, and of course another one above the $71.80 area. So it has been quite a very profitable week for everyone in this community. And for those who took advantage of these opportunities this week, well done to you for being on standby to have caught all these opportunities. So now with this whole situation we have right now, if you still have some buy positions running, of course some of us will have closed some of our positions, but if you do have any buy position running at this point, I think it is high time you moved your stop losses to secure your position. I think I made mention of this during my commentary this morning, and from the look of things right here, the most appropriate area to move stop losses at this point is anywhere just right below the $71.80 level. So let's secure this current position around that area, and let's see how far this bullish momentum is going to go. Now let's run through our commentary this morning on the USOilSPOT before we go into the details of what our expectations will be like for today. So this is my TradingView platform, and we have this commentary here, very short one. I mentioned here, I said secure buy positions as selling pressure resumes. The newly identified descending trend line on the 1 hour time frame will be the yardstick to guide our trading activities for today. And if you look at the structure here, this was the descending trend line I told us all that we are going to be using to guide our trading activity. So with the appearance of that selling pressure at the beginning of the early hours of today, if price still remains below that trend line, then there is the chances that sellers will come in becomes higher. But if we do have a breakout of that descending trend line, then at this point in time we shall be thinking of adding more position to our existing trade. So let's go back into the live chat and see what is really going on in the market right now. And in fact, I'll zoom in to the current structure, which is going to be our center of focus for today. And here we are. Now, with the situation we have here, this is the descending trend line I shared with you on the public platform. So you can see after connecting the series of lower highs since the New York session yesterday, of course, we have been seeing some selling pressure, lower highs in that regard. And right now we can see a candle just slicing through that descending trend line. So at this point in time, we are not going to be jumping into any conclusion right now that is going to be a bullish signal. All we just want to do here is ensure that we secure the current buy position, and let's wait out and see how this candle is going to close. So this candle, as you see right now, is still about 32 minutes old and still have a lifespan of about 27 minutes 56 seconds to go before it finally culminates. And it could still turn out to be a shooting star candle because it's bullish right now doesn't mean that this is how it's going to head. It might just drop significantly to the downside to incite a bearish move. So it is very, very important we remain patient, wait for this candle to mature, and let's see how things will play out around this area. And if price remains above that descending trend line, of course, then we will have no other choice than to look out for more opportunities to buy the US oil spot. Now, in addition to this observation here, one thing you would also notice is that around the $71.60 level, as you can see here, since the beginning of today, we saw how sellers were finding it difficult to break through that level. And as a result of this area, the result of sellers finding it difficult, it's more or less could serve as a platform for bullish potential for today. Now that we have this kind of scenario, how do we intend to maximize this bullish move? Now, one of the things I want to be looking out for at this current structure to continue to buy is to see price action break out just like it's doing right now, which I said we still need some exercise some patience for this structure to fully mature. Retest of structure on my lower time frame, like the 5 minutes, 10 or 15 minutes time frame. Look out for retest of structure. All we want to see are signs that sellers are finding it difficult to drop back below the $71.80 level. And if this happens, then we'll have no other choice than to get ready to start buying the US oil spot and even adding more position to our existing trade. And then with that situation running, we have a buy stop order above the $72.20 level to maximize the potential of this bullish move. In fact, I'm going to be having a buy stop order above the $72.20 level. And the reason why I'm having that is that I'm already profitable for the week. We are already profitable for the week, and we could afford to leverage on the profit we have made to test waters around that area to see if price action will continue to the upside. I hope it makes a whole lot of sense. And if that happens, we want to have a stop loss sitting somewhere around that above the rest, that above the $71.80 level, which will dovetail to about 35p stop loss on this one, which is not bad at all. But if you are new here and you are yet to take a position on the US oil spot, if you are new, since you are yet to hold any gain right here, I would suggest that you remain patient for structures to mature before joining any move. And what we are going to be looking at, if you are new in taking any trade on the US oil spot, is to wait for breakout of structure. We already had a breakout of the descending trend line. If it does happen, or breakout of this one, we want to see a retest of structure happen, either a retest of the $72.20 or the trend line around the $71.80 area to start considering buying the US oil spot. So that is how we are going to be managing our existing trade. Excuse me, on this one for today. So on the US oil spot, I'm holding on to a bullish bias here. I'm not thinking of selling right now unless the market structure states otherwise. And if we are going to be selling the US oil spot, what are we going to be looking at here to consider selling this US oil spot? Well, if you look at the structure here and considering how price action found selling pressure around the $72.20 level during the New York session yesterday, if this continues, that is, if selling pressure persists above this level, below this level, then we will have no other choice than to look out for ways to sell this instrument. But if I'm going to be selling, I would rather want to see price action break down this demand zone here, break it down to the downside. And remember, we are not getting too excited, as we'll still need some confirmation to happen before joining any move. And this could come in the form of a retest of structure, followed by selling pressure before considering even joining any bearish move in this market. But I doubt this will happen today. But if it does happen, we of course want to be on standby to catch that move. So if you do have any questions regarding what I just explained so far, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will be taking the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions, and if there are none, we'll just move on to the next option. So let's see what we have here. Any questions? All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are on the same page. So I will be moving on to the next instrument on our watch list. So the next instrument on our watch list is the GBPUSD, and on the GBPUSD, it's looking very tiring, isn't it? As the way price action has been very choppy, at least in the last 48 to 36 hours now. And one thing we can tell from here is that buyers are really sellers are trying to break through a demand zone here, but they are finding it difficult to break through because of the buying pressure we have been noticing just within that range we identified at the beginning of the week. So let's run through what incited the idea of buying the GBP USD for this week. So at the beginning of the week, we had a very flat range, a simple flat range where price action was initially caught within the 1.27070 and of course the 1.26880 level to give us an insight into the level of indecision at that point. And this is also a beautiful flat channel for us to work with for the week. And you know how we do it in this community. Whenever we have this kind of simple flat channel, we want to wait for price action to give us a signal of where price action will be going, which of course will come either in the form of a breakout of the resistant line for buying opportunities or breakdown of the support line of that channel for selling opportunities. And in fact, we had a sell position triggered during the first day of the week as we had this move. Price moved about how many pips was that? About 28 pips thereabout before we saw the beginning of this bullish momentum. And in fact, I was wary of taking advantage of this one right here, this bullish move here, and that was simply because of my expectations that we might likely be seeing price action come back to retest the structure to incite a bearish move to the downside, which of course never happened. Now, instead, price action continues to find higher highs, and to help us guide our trading activities, we had this ascending trend line figured out where we were able to guide us into taking advantage of this move right here. And then we also took advantage of some trading opportunity right here yesterday as we saw price move about let's see how many pips was that on both occasions. We had about 25 pips. 25. In fact, price has not really moved beyond 30 pips since the beginning of this week, which is a sign that there's still a whole lot of indecision in this market as participants are still looking forward to a catalyst that will drive price movement. And if we look at this week on the economic calendar, you will see that we have some high impact events still coming up later this week. The ADP employment change, the ISM services PMI. The ADP employment change is one event that the Fed will want to be looking at, as this will be one of the parameters they will be using to decide if there's going to be a rate hike or not. And then we have the almighty non-farm payroll, which is coming up on Friday, which of course is what the majority in the market is looking forward to. And this is seen reflected on the chart with this old choppy situation that we have been witnessing here since the beginning of the week. So in fact, during this morning when I was trying to review the current market structure and trying to decipher how to manage our position here, one thing I can just tell for fact here is that this area here below the 1.27 has been a very strong demand zone in this particular market, as we can see how sellers have been struggling as soon as price gets into that structure. We saw what happened here, we saw what happened here, and in fact during the early hours of today we saw how sellers struggled to break through that structure. And with this situation here, it's quite reasonable that we continue to look out for buying opportunity. It doesn't make any sense trying to sell above a very strong demand zone, a very robust demand zone. This is a very strong demand zone that has been holding by pressure since the beginning of the week. So it doesn't make any sense that we consider selling at this point in time. And well, this morning we had a buy position which happens to have been taken out right now. As you can see, it has been taken out already at break even. So we really have not had any huge traction on the GBPUSD. So let's run through my commentary this morning on this instrument, on what we said we are going to be using to guide our trading activities for today. So this is our okay, so we had a bullish move here. So I told us all to secure the buy positions as sellers continue to struggle around the weekly key level at the 1.270 level. So it's a short note here. So let's go back into the live chat and see what is really going on from here. Let me bring out my line chart and let's look at it. If we could have new higher lows to mark new structures. Okay, so can we capture this one? I think this one is looking more promising. It captures more lows here, and let me delete this one. So we have a new trend line to guide our trading activity for today. So I will do some adjustments here so that it can capture most of the pivot lows here. So price action still remains above that trend line too, of course. So at this point in time, we have no other choice than to continue to look out for buying opportunity at this point. The only thing that will happen here that will make me consider selling the JPUSD is to see price action break through that demand zone, that is taking out all the buy positions here, and then it's at this point I can start thinking that okay, let's get ready to sell, and a confirmation like a retest of structure followed by continued selling pressure on our lower time frame will be a beautiful opportunity to join that decline to the downside. But if price action still remains above that demand zone and our key level at the 1.2700 area, and of course above that ascending trend line, we have no other choice than to look out for buying opportunities in this market. So after being taken out here, let's have a buy stop order again above the 1.272. Let's see how this is going to play out. And if it continues to the upside, we also have another buy stop order above the 1.274 to capitalize on this potential move to the upside. So this is how we are going to be looking at the JPUSD today. We'll remain bullish as long as price action remains above that demand zone and of course the ascending trend line we just identified now. And the only thing I said that will make us sell the GBPUSD is to see price action slide through the ascending trend line and of course that demand zone. After then, we're going to start considering selling. But trust me, I will be with you in the comment section of both my trading view and Telegram platforms to give you update as at when due. So at this point in time, let's have a buy stop order above the 1.272 and of course the 1.274. So that is my view here on the GBP USD. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will take the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions, and also you can use that time to mark these levels out on your chart. All right, everyone. So in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we are on the same page. So that means we are well clear and well understood here. I see your comment, Jonah Haruna. Good morning, Jonah Haruna. Thanks for checking in on me. I really do appreciate that. Trust you are doing very well too out there. All right. So in the absence of no questions, we'll just move on to the next instrument on our watch list. Now I get that. I get that. I get that. Thank you. Thank you very much, Deji, behind the scenes. Deji has been helping me to ensure that the sound is quite on. So I'm sorry again. I forgot I muted my mic. I'm so sorry. So I will have to restart all over again. So the instrument on our watch list next is the XAUUSD. Thank you very much, Deji. I really do appreciate that. All right. So the next instrument on. Okay, thank you very much, Arashi Storm. Thank you very much for letting me know that too. I really appreciate your feedbacks. All right, so we were talking about the XAUUSD, and what we were saying about this is that since the beginning of the week, we have been buying this commodity actually, and I said let us go through what we saw at the beginning of the week that made us to start buying the XAUUSD. Now, at the beginning of the week, we saw our price was initially caught within a range, and that was between the $1,920.50 level. That was the initial resistance level for the week. And we also had the first support line for the week along the $1,914.50 level. And during the early hours of the London session on Monday, we saw the breakdown of the structure actually. Price broke down the structure. It came into that 1,912 level. Remember, that was our key level for the week. If you have not watched my video on the XAUUSD, please do so. The link is in the description box of this current video, where I talked about how we got to identify the 1,912 and how it's going to be serving as our yardstick to guide trading activities for this week. So we saw the breakdown there, and the moment we begin to realize buy pressure above that area, we started considering buying the XAUUSD. And for the fact that price action remained above our key level, you know how we use our key level in this community. When price action remains above the key level, we definitely want to be looking out for structures and patterns that will support the idea of buying. And with the situation we had here, we had a buy stop order sitting above the $1,914 level, as you can see here, and then we capitalized on that move, having another buy stop order above the 1,920, and we also added another one here at the 1,925. So as at the first day of the week, we were already roughly about 150 pips minimum as we moved our stop loss accordingly before we were taken out of that position. Then right here on Tuesday, we begin to see some buy pressure here. I told you how much it pained me that I missed out on this opportunity. This happened in the middle of the night. And remember, we were looking forward to a retest of that structure to give us the privilege of joining a bullish move. And that actually happened. And we rode that move all the way to the upside. Now, one interesting thing about the current market structure on the XAUUSD is the fact that as soon as price action gets into that area around the 1,930 zone, we have been noticing selling pressure around that level. So we saw what happened here on Monday. We saw the sharp rejection, engulfing bearish candles springing out from that level, pushing price to the downside. And here again on Tuesday, we saw the same thing happen prior to the New York session. And in fact, during the New York session yesterday, a couple of hours into it, remember we had a very strong buy position here. If you are part of our XAUUSD live monitoring window, we had almost over 100 pips, and we stacked up about 3 positions on this one before those bearish move came in to take us out. And though we were very profitable on that one, I think we had about 100 pips on all multiple entries on that one before we were taking out of this position. And if you were with us during our live monitoring of the XAUUSD, I was talking about how we should remain patient. As a majority, I begin to receive calls that we should just take the sell position right here. For me personally, it doesn't work that way. And the reason why I was telling us all to remain patient yesterday is that remember that we had this descending trend line identified during our live session yesterday, and we said it's going to be serving as our yardstick to guide trading activity. And one of the things we are looking out for is a breakout which happened. And from a technical standpoint, whenever we have a breakout of a structure like this, we expect that one point in time price is likely going to come back, retest that structure to incite another move to the upside. And it's because of this expectation that I told us all to hold on and let's see how the market will be reacting to that zone between the 1,925 and the $1,921.50 level to give us an idea of where price action is likely going to be going. And what we saw here, we saw some buy pressure resume around this area, which made the whole setup very suspicious. And as a result of this, we waited for about 3 hours before we decided that fine, we are going to be having a buy stop order above the 1,925, probably to continue a trend continuation to the upside. And the fact that we also had this shooting star candle didn't allow us to negate the idea of selling the XAUUSD. And I told us all that only if price action breaks down, retests the $1,921.50 level, it's only then can we start considering selling the XAUUSD. And in fact, we had our sell stop order below that structure. And as you can see, price action moved about 70 pips thereabout in our favor, and I do hope you moved your stop losses accordingly. And if you had done that, you would have been taken out with a modest size of profit, or at a worst case scenario, break even. Now, during my commentary this morning on the XAUUSD, let's quickly run through my commentary on the XAUUSD. So if you are with me on both my TradingView and Telegram platform, you would have gotten this update. So on this one, I mentioned here that, hold on a second. Okay, so I said here the sell position has been successfully closed, resulting in a moderate profit as the price action retraces back to the initial sell entry zone at approximately the $1,912.50 level. It is worth noting that over the past 12 hours, we have observed higher lows, which could potentially set the stage for a bullish scenario. These newly formed structures in the 1 hour time frame provide valuable guidance for our trading activities throughout today. So let's run through the live chat and see what I was actually explaining on the XAUUSD. Now, if you look at the structure here, let's zoom into, well, the first thing I would like to acknowledge here is this trend line, very, very important. So let's acknowledge this trend line here, as we are going to be using it to guide our trading activity for today. Let me bring up my line chart to confirm if we are truly getting the right right trend here. Okay, I think we are getting that. So we just do some readjustment so that it can touch most of the wicks on this one. So we have a beautiful descending trend line to guide our trading activity for today. And what this simply means is that if price action remains below the trend line, we will have no other choice than to continue to look out for selling opportunities in this particular market. So this was the higher lows I was talking about during the my commentary this morning on the XAUUSD. So we saw that as soon as price action tested the $1,914.50 level, we saw some buy pressure. Hold on a second. So I just want to capture this one, 1,914.50 level. And if you remember vividly, that level was the level where we had our first buy position for the week. Remember, that was the initial support line. That was where we had our first buy position. And you can see what happened. Immediately price action got into that zone, we begin to see some buy pressure resume around that area. So will this be a platform for another wave of bullish momentum? That is the question we need to be asking ourselves now. So if it's going to turn out to be a platform for a bullish momentum here, how do we intend to maximize this opportunity? How do we intend to take advantage of this move? And considering the fact that we have been noticing some higher lows here in the last 14 hours, and as long as price remains above the structure, definitely we want to be looking out for opportunities to buy. Now, with the situation we have here and following the impulsive move that brought us to this point, it appears that price action is gradually transitioning into what looks like a reversal pattern in the form of a double bottom structure. And you know how we do it in this community. As soon as price action starts evolving into what looks like a reversal pattern, the next thing we want to be doing is to identify the neckline which we are going to be using to validate the potency of this reversal pattern. And if you look at the structure closely, that zone between the that zone between the 1,920 $1.50 level and the 1,921.50 area where we sold yesterday happens to be an area we can call our neckline, and in fact it has been a major determinant of price action since the beginning of yesterday's trading session. As you can see here, we saw this area was a demand zone at one point, then we saw the breakdown, retest of structure. We saw some selling pressure around this area during the early hours of today. And at this point in time, for us to buy the XAUUSD, we want to see price action slice through the neckline, break out of that zone, then if possible, retest of structure, giving us more opportunity to maximize that move to the upside. So our center of focus to buy the XAUUSD today lies around the $1,921.50 level and the $1,920.50 area. Now the question now is, should we have a buy stop order around this area or just wait for a breakout and retest before we join that move? Now it depends on where you are coming from here. So if you have been profitable on the XAUUSD so far this week, so that means you have some profits in your kitty at this point in time as well, and with a profit in your kitty, you can as well leverage on some of this profit to test waters around that area. So if you're already profitable so far this week on the XAUUSD, we can easily place a buy stop order anywhere around this area to capture the bullish move to the upside. But if you are not, if this is your first position on the XAUUSD this week, that means you are just coming into the market. I would advise you to wait for a breakout to happen, then scale down to your lower time frame to look out for confirmations like price action, retesting structures before we want to be joining any bullish move at this particular point in time. So this is how we are going to be buying the XAUUSD today. So let's be on standby to catch this opportunity. And one thing I also want to clear here is that this market has the privilege of giving us multiple entries to maximize this move to the upside. In fact, we have levels like the $1,925 level where a breakout retest will welcome more opportunities on the XAUUSD. And then we also have the 1,930, and of course we have the 1,933 level to maximize this move to the upside. So this is how we are going to be managing our buy position on the XAUUSD today. And one thing about this structure is that if price breaks above this neckline, it would have also broken out of that descending trend line, of course, which will be a sign that the trend line may no longer have the capacity to continue to negate the bullish attempt in this market. Now, in as much as we're looking out for buy positions here on the XAUUSD, we cannot ignore the potentials of sellers. And if you remember what I said earlier as regards to the structure, the appearance of selling pressure around the 1,930 is more or less a sign that sellers are still, are still very, very strong in this particular market. And with the situation we had here yesterday, price action dropping back below this descending trend line, we cannot ignore the potentials of sellers. So what do we want to see on this chart that will make us to sell? Now, for me to sell the XAUUSD at this point in time needs a whole lot of patience, as we need to see how price action will be reacting to the zone. Remember, since the beginning of this week, this area has been a very strong demand zone, having strong memory for buying power, and selling, jumping into a sell position here might not look reasonable. So to sell at this point in time, we need some level of confirmation before joining any opportunity. So during my commentary this morning, I stated here that we have a level around the 1,918 area, which also shares a confluence with that ascending trend line, where if price action breaks through this zone, I want to be looking out for selling opportunities. Now, remember, we are not getting too excited. We are not jumping into any sell positions right away, as we'll still need some confirmations to happen before joining. So what I want to see here is a significant breakthrough, that is price action closes below the 1,918 and comes back to do a retest of structure. Very, very important. I want to see retest of structure, continued selling pressure below both the trend line and the 1,918 for me to start considering selling. Then if this happens, then we could continue to maximize the move by adding more positions at the breakdown of these structures. Excuse me. So this is how I'm going to be selling the XAUUSD today. But from the look of things here, I'm of the opinion that buyers might likely come in. Something just tells me that buyers are likely coming in. So we have a buy stop order above the structure. But if the market state otherwise, we are of course ready to be part of that move. So that's my view here on the XAUUSD. So you want to mark these levels out on your chart, and let's use it as a reference point to guide our trading activities for today. So if you have any questions whatsoever as regards to the XAUUSD, of course, or any of the instruments we've talked so far, feel free to drop it in the comment section and I will be willing to be of help. So let me take the next 10 to 15 seconds to see if there are any questions before we move on to the next instrument. All right, so in the absence of no questions, I want to assume that we're on the same page. So let's see how the market will play out going forward, and let's move on to the last instrument for today. So the last instrument that we are going to be taking for today is going to be the USDJPY. And finally, we had a breakthrough during the early hours of today as our stop orders were triggered consecutively to push us into two positions currently running in profit on the USDJPY. Now, let's quickly run through how the week started. In fact, we had a very, very strong consolidation phase, which lasted about 96 hours, I guess, 72 hours. That's like 3.5 days, I think. And this has been a peculiar pattern with the USDJPY in the last couple of weeks now. And since the beginning of the week, we saw this beautiful range here between the 144.690 and of course the 144.200. Though we had some positions that we took within this range here, and it was more of selling actually of the USDJPY. Remember, we sold below this area. That was on Tuesday. We sold here. Price moved about 25, 26 pips thereabout before we were taken out of that position. And remember, we also sold here again at the breakdown of this one. Price did not move that far before we finally saw the situation. And remember, we said here that we are not going to be buying unless we have a breakout retest of the 144.690, which never happened in the last couple of days. Now, with the situation we have right here, we have a sell position here. We added another one here. And for those who have been part of this profitable journey, well done to you for being on standby to catch this move. So right now, we are going to be of course, you know how we do it. The first thing we ought to do right now is to secure the current sell position, moving all stop losses. In fact, I will suggest we move all stop losses to anywhere above that key level at the 144.200 while we wait out and see if this trend is going to continue to the downside. And for those who had missed out on this opportunity, well, it's okay. There is still a lot of, I think we still have one more day to go. And in fact, we're still expecting some volatility as a result of the high impact event coming up today and tomorrow. So in this kind of situation here, what I would just say here is that since we already have a breakdown of this key level for the week and price action remains below our key level, you know how we use our key levels in this community. We want to wait for price. We want to continue to look out for patterns and structures that will support the idea of selling. So from a technical standpoint, having a breakdown of structure, we expect that one point in time price is likely going to come back to retest the structure where continued selling pressure is likely going to be pushing price further to the downside. So let's see how this is going to play out. So a whole lot of patience will be required here And remember, our key level is the 144.200. Let's see how this is going to play out. If it does come into the structure and we begin to see sell pressure, then we will be joining a bearish move at this point. And for now, I'm not considering buying the USDJPY unless structure states otherwise. And if any new development comes in that supports the idea of buying, or probably we start seeing something like a reversal pattern here, maybe like a higher low, giving us a structure like a double bottom structure, then we could start considering buying. But not until that moment. I will just stay on a bearish momentum on the USDJPY. So let's see how price will play out. Move your stop losses accordingly, secure the current sell position, and let's wait and see how price will be playing out around that zone at the 144.200 to decide what our next line of action will be here. So on this note, I would like to call it a day here. And before I do that, let me drop the link to the XAUUSD live monitoring window, which we are going to be starting by 11:45 a.m. today, like 11:45 a.m. UTC, sorry. So I will just drop it in the So that's the link there. Just drop it in the comment section right now, so you can click on it, click on the notify me button so that you can get notified as soon as we come online. And let's trade the XAUUSD together again today and see if we can replicate what we have been experiencing since the beginning of the week on the XAUUSD. So on this note, I wish you all best of luck. It has been a wonderful moment with you guys today, and in fact we were able to identify simple setups that we are going to be using to guide our trading activities for today. You guys have been wonderful. I really appreciate you. Deji, Harashi, Jonah Aruna, Miraculous Meditation. You guys have been wonderful, and those who are behind the scenes who are not even making comments, I really do appreciate you guys. So I look forward to seeing you again in the comment section on both my TradingView and Telegram platform as we continue to monitor price action. So see you in about 2 hours from now as we go into the XAUUSD live monitoring window. Do have a wonderful evening, everyone. And please don't forget to support the project by clicking the like button. Your likes are very valuable to me, and it also helps the YouTube algorithm to be able to identify this video and push it to a wider audience of traders who would also find this material useful to them. Please support this project. I really appreciate that, and thank you in advance as you do so. Do have a wonderful evening, everyone. I wish you best of luck and see you in the comment section as we continue to monitor price action. Bye-bye.